What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Motor City Sports Central. I'm Alex. Happy to be coming back at you with a second ever edition of the Motor City Sports Central podcast. I know you're probably wondering, where have these been on the channel? Well, I haven't been able to have many guests, and I'm lucky to be joined today by Robert Wykowski of Dragon Den Sports. How's it going, Rob?
Oh, it's going really good, man. I'm actually really honored to be a part of this. This is a great opportunity to be talking about something that we both love, the Detroit Lions.
Absolutely. And the preseason is in full swing. Training camp opened up just a few weeks ago. We got a matchup with the Houston Texans coming up this Saturday.
Yeah, we do.
And a week one matchup with the Arizona Cardinals looming closely. So this episode is going to be mainly about the Detroit Lions because that's what's hot in Detroit right now.
Of course.
And it's going to be a pretty interesting season coming up. We got a lot of new players, some new coaches, and so without further ado, let's roll the intro. So jumping right into this one, Rob, we got to talk about this defensive line.
Yeah, we do.
So we got Trey Flowers coming from the New England Patriots from free agency. We also have the return of Damon Snacks Harrison, who just came off the non-football injury list and just started practicing today with the Houston Texans. We also signed Mike Daniels a couple weeks ago after he was recently cut by the Green Bay Packers. There's a lot of big names on this defensive line, Rob.
There really is. I mean, those three names alone are such talented aspects for our defensive line. I mean, you're looking at Mike Daniels, terrific against the pass. Snacks Harrison, terrific against the run.
Absolutely.
And then Trey Flowers was a really good, solid, pressure defensive end. So, I mean, those three components right there alone, this defensive line could be scary this season.
Yeah, absolutely. We have players that can satisfy all assets. We got run stoppers, we got pass rushers, we got guys that can do both things. So, but will they live up to the hype? Obviously, we're into training camp here, and we've had some guys that haven't been practicing at all. We've had, such as Mike Daniels. He's been in uniform, but he's just been doing some work on the side. Trey Flowers just came off the PUP list just last week, and of course, Damon Harrison just came off the non-football injury list just today. So, are you a little bit weary? Are you a little bit scared that these guys haven't been getting a lot of practice time, and they probably won't see any actual playing time in our preseason games coming up? So,
I would say yes, I'm a little bit weary. But if you look against the Patriots, we didn't have any of our starters playing, and they were able. Our defensive line was able to hold them to 133 rushing yards, and that was with no starters.
Right.
So imagine what we could do against the run with our starters, like Snacks Harrison, like Mike Daniels. Those numbers could be significantly lower against our opponents, and that's what we want in our team. We want to be good against the run, and that's exactly what they did with our second and third team defense.
Yeah, absolutely. The run defense was obviously a glaring weakness that we had last season, so hopefully that we can improve on that. Looking long-term, though, you see any guys that can maybe make a big splash, maybe make an all-defensive team, maybe make a Pro Bowl this year? Because I'm thinking Trey Flowers is looking he's got some potential.
Yeah, no, definitely Trey Flowers is one of those guys, like you said. He's got a lot of potential. Me, personally, I think I'm looking a little bit more towards Deshaun Hand.
Okay.
We saw him a little bit last year. He looked really good, really solid in his rookie season. I think he could bounce back. I mean, he hasn't really performed all that well in training camp. He's been injured a little bit. But I really do think during the regular season when that comes around, I really do think that Deshaun Hand is going to be one of those players to really watch out for, especially against the run and the pass.
Yeah, Deshaun Hand, another one of those players that hasn't been practicing much. He's got an arm problem. I think he injured it in the Arizona game last season. Yep. And before that, he was arguably one of our most impressive rookies.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Deshaun Hand, I'm excited to see what he can do, too. And I can't express it enough. There's just so many big names on this defensive line to be excited for. And so switching gears here, the secondary. Now, we signed one guy in Justin Coleman from the Seattle Seahawks. So the secondary, it didn't get a big boost.
No.
So what can we look forward to, and what do you think needs to be improved here?
I definitely think that the Lions' main focus should be finding that other starter. I mean, like you did say, they did sign Justin Coleman. We saw him play week 1 of the preseason.
Right.
Really didn't do a whole lot. A lot of our secondary really didn't do much. We were beat constantly by 1 or 2 steps. We gave up a couple touchdowns that should have been easy plays. I really do think, though, that the Lions should be looking at those guys like Mike Ford, who really need to step up this season. It's going to be interesting to tell. You know, it's only week 2 of the preseason. We still got 2 more weeks left. But I do think Mike Ford's got to be one of those guys that really needs to step up and show that he can be a starter in the NFL.
Yep, absolutely. I totally agree with that. That second corner spot opposite of Darius Slay is a big question mark with this team. Obviously, like I said, we signed Justin Coleman, but he's going to be mainly playing some nickel. That's more of his strong suit. So look for guys like Mike Ford. Like you said, you're really high on him, and I think he's got some good potential. I'd like to see our 5th-round draft pick, Armani Oruwariye from Penn State. He's got some good length, some good speed. Maybe he could make like a little bit of a splash here in the later weeks of training camp. But yeah, the secondary, 3rd to last in interceptions in the NFL last year. Not a very good number. Obviously, Darius Slay, he's the star of this secondary. What can we see from him this year? He's been like kind of quiet in the training camp. He started the first couple weeks on the PUP list along with Trey Flowers. So, I mean, can we expect the same old Darius Slay this year? Like, what's going on with him?
I think we can see the same old Darius Slay. I mean, you've seen it in years past. He's able to make those plays. He's terrific against those big-name receivers. He's a ball hawk. He's been able to make those plays downfield. This year's been a little bit different because he's running out of his contract. So he's trying to prove himself, as some would say.
Absolutely.
I do think he deserves that contract. I don't think the Lions should let him walk. I do think this is going to be a really, really good year for Darius Slay for the Lions this year.
Yeah, I totally agree with you when you say that the Lions should not let this guy walk. I don't agree with Darius Slay testing, holding out. I'm glad that he came back to practice. But I think he will get paid in the end. I think he will live up to what he thinks he should be paid, and I think Bob Quinn and him will be signing a contract come this time next year.
Yeah.
So, moving on to my final talking point here, I want to talk a little bit about Matthew Stafford. Reports have surfaced that he was playing with broken bones in his back, which we can kind of like assume was the reason why he wasn't his best self in 2018. So. And we also have a new offensive coordinator in Darrell Bevell who has said that Matthew Stafford could be a little bit more mobile this year, which is pretty intriguing. What are you going to say about that?
Matthew Stafford did not live up to the hype last year. I mean, like you did say, he had a couple broken bones in his back, which arguably is the reason why we didn't see him perform as well. But this year, I mean, I've seen him in training camp a couple times. I saw him really make some good throws. He's been able to make those plays. He looks more like himself, which is what we want to see because he is our franchise quarterback. We don't want anybody else for the Lions. I do think this is going to be a make it or break it year. I want him to make it.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I don't. It just depends if he can stay healthy.
Yeah.
We know that he has the arm strength. We know that he can make those throws. We know he can make plays. It's just a matter of time. If he can stay healthy this season, great. If he can't, then I don't think he's going to be a Lion much longer.
Yeah, absolutely. When you sign a contract as big as Matthew Stafford signed a couple of years ago, there's not a lot of breathing room for him. And I think that if we see a lackluster year like we did last season, there's going to be some turmoil in Detroit sports. So, but I think if Matthew Stafford just stays healthy, we know we're going to have a good running game this year. We signed C.J. Anderson. We got Kerryon Johnson back. We got some rookie guys in Ty Johnson. We got Zach Center, who looks like an absolute beast in training camp. So if we have a running game, we got weapons for him now. We got T.J. Hockenson, who we're going to talk about a little bit later in this episode. We got Danny Amendola, Golladay, Marvin Jones. So many things that we're just surrounding Stafford with. It just needs to go right for him. And I believe if he kind of just chokes, basically. If he chokes, then I think it could be game over for him.
Yeah.
So, again, lots of question marks this season. Defensive line, the secondary, Matthew Stafford, and so much more. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting.
I agree. I mean, if with all those weapons that he has, if he can't perform well, basically it's over for him.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this should be a Pro Bowl caliber year for Matthew Stafford.
Yeah.
With the weapons that he has on offense.
Maybe even MVP.
Right.
For hell.
Yeah.
To hell with it, man. If the Lions
reach for the stars.
Absolutely. Like, if the Lions can like get all the pieces together, maybe and we win some games.
Yeah.
And we get in the national spotlight, Stafford could be in position for MVP.
Yeah.
But I am a little biased when I say that.
Oh, yeah. We all are at that point. I mean, we're Detroit fans here.
Right,
I mean, we have to be.
All right, Rob, so we're going to play a little game I like to call Who Is. It's a really simple game because I'm a really simple podcast here.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm basically going to ask a question starting with the words Who Is.
Okay.
And we're both going to name a guy
All right.
that basically answers that question. So here we go. Who is the player you are most excited for this season?
I'm thinking wide receiver Kenny Golladay. I mean, we've seen him last season. He made some really big plays downfield. I think this is going to be a really good breakout year for him, especially if Matthew Stafford is healthy.
Mm-hmm.
I think he could be one of the next best receivers in the league.
Okay, yeah. We definitely saw a big leap from Kenny Golladay last year. I'm looking for him on my fantasy teams this year, so I kind of missed out on that boat last season. It was very exciting, but the player I would say I'm most excited for this year would have to be Tracy Walker. He was our third-round draft pick last year, and he was really just under the radar. He got like a decent amount of playing time. He got a few interceptions here and there, and a lot of people in Detroit probably just don't know the name Tracy Walker, and I think that people are really going to find out who this guy really is this season. He's got a lot of length. He's got good speed for a safety, and he's just got a lot of attributes that good safeties need to succeed. Like, he can get to anywhere on the football field. He can be good in pass coverage. He can tackle well. I just think Tracy Walker is going to have a good season this year, and he's been showing that in training camp so far as well.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%.
All right, next question. Who is the rookie that you think will have the biggest impact this season?
Oh, dude. Gotta stay with the Big Ten and go with Ty Johnson.
Okay.
He's one of those guys we saw in week 1 of the preseason. He had 22 yards. One run was for 17. The other was for 13, but the 13-yard rush was called back due to a holding penalty.
Of course.
But Ty Johnson's he's agile. He's got that quick speed. He kind of lacks in size, but he makes up for that with his ability to find those holes and redirect or really just push through the gaps and get those yards that we need for the Lions. I mean, I think he's going to be one of those players that fills that role from the Lions really getting rid of Theo Riddick. Mm-hmm. So I'm really excited to watch him play, especially in pass-catching sets and abilities.
Yep. Ty Johnson, obviously our 6th-round draft pick out of the University of Maryland, for those of you that don't know. The rookie I think is going to make the biggest impact this season is actually our 2nd-round draft pick, Jelani Tavai out of Hawaii. This guy was wow. When we first drafted him, my Twitter was just blowing up with how much people were just like, who the hell is this guy?
Right.
And now I went to a few training camp practices and I actually saw this guy in person. This man's a tank.
Yeah.
This man is huge. And he's getting starting reps in practice. And we saw him a little bit in the preseason game. He didn't make a big impact, obviously, because we want to keep him healthy. But I think come week 1, Jelani Tavai is going to be in that starting lineup. And people are going to be saying, wow, this Jelani Tavai kid is actually turning out to be a really good draft pick.
Yeah.
He's going to be alongside Jared Davis, Devin Kennard, and he's going to fit in well with that linebacker core, I think. So,
yeah, I mean, like you said, he's got that instinct for the ball. We saw him in training camp. He had a couple of interceptions. And like you said earlier, I remember I was at the Lions Day 2 draft party, and when his name showed up, everybody's like, who the heck is this guy?
Yeah.
But, I mean, he knows how to tackle. He knows how to read the play. I think he's a really smart player. And if he shows that in his rookie season, I think he's going to make a long-lasting impact here in Detroit.
Okay, yeah. All right, last who is question. Who has the most pressure to succeed this season? I'll start this one off.
All right.
I'm going to say Frank Ragnow. He was our 1st-round draft pick last year out of the University of Arkansas, as many of you may know. He played left guard last season, and he's actually making the move to center this season, which is I'm scratching my head at a little bit here because Graham Glasgow, he was probably the most solid part of our offensive line last season at the center position. Now we're moving him back to left guard, where he actually played at in the University of Michigan, and Frank Ragnow is going to fill in that center spot, which I think for a second-year player, it's got to be kind of like you're kind of scratching your head here because like he's just getting like used to being in the NFL, and now he's getting a position change in just his second year. I think if he just doesn't live up to, well, not live up, but if he doesn't have a good season this year, people may start considering him as a bust. And I just, like, I know he's a good offensive lineman, and I want him to do well. But that position change kind of scares me. And the center, obviously, the most important spot on the offensive line. So, yeah, what do you think about Frank Ragnow this year?
I mean, he was a good offensive lineman, like you said, last year. He was one of those solid pieces for the Detroit Lions. I mean, yes, we had a lot of injuries along our offensive line last year. We interchanged guys regularly. But Ragnow was one of those guys that was good helping us open up those gaps for running backs. He was able to hold somewhat his ground against the pass.
There was a few slip-ups here.
Yeah. I mean, but that's common among rookies, you know. I mean, absolutely. That happens. But I do think year 2, he's going to make a jump. Whether it's for the good or the bad, time is going to tell. But I do think this could be a solid move because he has played center in the past. I mean, he has the experience.
Yeah.
So it's just time will tell if this is going to be good or not. I think the Lions clearly know what they're doing. So this could be smart. We don't know.
Okay. So who are you saying, Rob?
For me, it's gonna be Rick Wagner.
Okay.
We signed him out of Baltimore.
The veteran.
Yeah, the veteran, Rick Wagner. We signed him out of Baltimore a couple years ago. He never really lived up to that contract. He's been injured numerous times throughout his year. He's been beaten
countless times.
Consistently he's been beaten on that outside. He just never really lived up to it. He's been a nuisance. I hate to say it, on our offensive line.
He's kind of lucky that he's not on Stafford's blind side sometimes.
Right, yeah. So I do think he's going to be the one under pressure. If he doesn't do anything this year, he's going to be cut or he's going to just be traded or anything. He might not be re-signed. He's really got to step it up if he wants to stay in the NFL because right now it's not looking too hot for him.
Yeah. I don't know if he'll be cut, but I agree with you that there's definitely some pressure.
Yeah.
He hasn't been, again, and like you said he hasn't lived up to that contract. There's just, when we first signed him, there was some excitement that, we're actually getting our offensive line together. We're actually going to be able to protect Stafford.
Right.
And now, this year, I'm looking at the offensive line as somewhat of a weakness.
Yeah.
So there's going to be some criticism possibly with the offensive line this year if Stafford finds himself under pressure like he did a lot last year.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, specifically, you said the offensive line is going to be a weakness. Not just the offensive line, but that right guard spot. We don't have anybody that's a solid, dominator in that position. Yeah, I mean, since we lost him. So, I mean, that's going to be something to watch out for this year. But I guess we'll see.
Okay, Rob. Another simple game here because we're on the Simple Ass podcast.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to play a game called Over Under. Lots of sports talk shows have it. I'm going to ask you a question, and you'll pick up. Kerryon Johnson will rush for over or under 1,000 yards this season.
I think it's going to be over 1,000 yards this season. I mean, we saw him a little bit last year before he got injured, specifically highlighting the Patriots game when he rushed for over 100 yards.
No, love that game.
that was a terrific game. He was really solid. I mean, we saw him. He was able to really show off his elusiveness, his quickness, his speed. I think if he could stay healthy, 1,000 yards easily.
Yeah. I'm going to say under 1,000 yards, not because I don't think Kerryon Johnson can do it. I'm going to say that C.J. Anderson, our backup, who we just signed from the Los Angeles Rams this season, he's going to have some more snaps.
Yeah.
But Kerryon is obviously going to be the starter, especially if he stays healthy. He's definitely going to get a starting role, but I think the pressure is going to be taken off of him just a little bit by C.J. Anderson, which is going to prevent him from reaching that 1,000-yard plateau. But I agree with you. If Kerryon Johnson is healthy this year, he's going to have a big season.
Yeah.
All right. Next question. Kenny Golladay, who you talked about earlier.
Yep.
Will he have 1,000 yards this season?
Oh, easily, dude.
Yeah.
1,200.
1,200.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I'm setting the bar high for this young man.
Yeah.
Like I mentioned earlier, I mean, he's one of those guys. He's a big body receiver. He's got that nice size, the frame. He's got that speed that when he gets downfield, he can create that separation a little bit. I do think that if he can stay healthy and Stafford has a good year, 1,200 easily.
Okay. Yeah. You well said, Rob. Kenny Golladay, yeah, I'm going to say over 1,000 yards by far. Like I said, I really wish I could get this guy on my fantasy teams this year. But yeah, kind of shows a little bit of Calvin Johnson in him with those acrobatic catches, the long length, the long strides. He can beat almost any corner in the league in just his third season. So this going into his third season just this year. So I'm really excited for what we can see from Kenny Golladay this season. And book it. More than 1,000 yards.
Exactly. There we go.
Matthew Stafford, will he have over or under 10 interceptions? This is a pretty interesting mark for quarterbacks here. If you can get under 10 interceptions, that's really impressive. So what do you say, Rob?
Ooh, this was kind of tough. I do think it's going to be over 10 interceptions, but just like slightly. I'm not going to say it's going to be like drastically over 10 interceptions. It's going to be like 12 or like 13.
Yeah.
We are playing a lot of good teams this year, a lot of really solid defenses. So it's really going to test Matthew Stafford in his ability to make those threading the needle type passes, those accuracy. Like, it's really going to put a test to him this year. So I think it's slightly over.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and agree with you. I want to say under because I'm a very optimistic guy. I want to say under 10 interceptions, but that's just a really big mark to hit as a quarterback. So I'm going to go ahead and say maybe 14, 15 interceptions, nothing too serious. If he stays healthy, and again, that running game's there, and the offensive line somewhat does their job, I'm going to say that Stafford's not going to get blown up. But again, we're playing some good defenses, such as the Chiefs. The Chargers are coming up as a good defensive team this year, especially we're playing them early in the season. So hopefully Stafford will be healthy at that point. And,
not to mention Arizona with Patrick Peterson, man.
Ooh. Arizona doesn't scare me at all. I'm going to go ahead and say that Kyler Murray gets sacked 5 times week 1. I don't know about you, but...
Ooh, that's a bold one there, Cotton. Yikes.
All right, last question here. Lions are winning over or under 8 games this season.
All right. They're going to go 10-6. They're going to make the playoffs. Book it. Right now, book it. Yep.
I'm going to say 10-6 as well. I talked about it in my Lions preview video just last week. Link will be in the description below. I also said that they're winning a playoff game this year. It's really optimistic to say. I just have a good feeling about this team. Although reports are surfacing that we're having struggles with the Houston Texans this week, and that preseason game against the Patriots was obviously very what can I say about that, to be honest?
Right.
But yeah, I'm going to say at least 9 or 10 wins, maybe even 11 wins. But yeah, I think the playoffs are a real possibility for this team this year. That's going to be it for this video, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you for tuning in to the second ever edition of the Motor City Sports Central podcast. Rob, thanks for coming on the show.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me.
Take some time, tell the people what you got going on with your stuff in Dragon Den Sports.
So, as of right now, I've just recorded a 3 winners and 3 losers video from the week 1 or preseason game. That should be releasing either today or tomorrow. I'm going to take the time this afternoon to shoot my upcoming breakdown video for Saturday's game. Should be an interesting one, to say the least. I'm really excited to see this season. There's a lot of videos and a lot of projects on the horizon.
Awesome. Yeah, it was a pleasure collaborating with you, Rob.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm sure we will have many videos to come in the future. You're a great guy to talk sports with.
Thank you.
With that being said, again, thank you guys for watching. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace out.